from AskTheMowerGuy.com, and we run into from time to time where a large riding lawnmower will end up having a problem where it seems like the engine's locked up, but in reality what's really going on is you've got what's called hydraulic lock. And what hydraulic lock is that the gas comes into a carburetor right here, runs down into the carburetor, but because the solenoid, and this little fuel solenoid I'm going to show you doesn't work, the gas then goes back up and into the engine. Now, when it goes into the engine, it eventually fills up all the way inside the cylinder and then bleeds past the rings, fills the oil all the way up with gasoline, and so basically your engine's just full of gas and oil, and when it tries to go through a compression stroke and the valves are all closed, the fuel that's stuck in the cylinder stops it from moving, and it makes it sound like the engine is totally locked up. But let me show you what's really happening. So what I have here is the carburetor, and basically the whole system that's used on a similar riding lawnmower than the one I just showed you, and the air comes in this side. You have your carburetor, it's in this area, and then this runs to the engine. So what happens is the gas goes in, like I said, through the carburetor, and then it passes, because there's nothing there to stop it, into the cylinder, and it causes a locking. What's really happening is this, and I took this one apart so you could see, on the inside of that carburetor there's a float. This float opens and closes and allows fuel to come down through the side here into the bowl and fill up. The float, when the bowl is full, should stop the fuel from flowing. No more fuel coming into the carburetor means that no more fuel is going past the carburetor into the engine. As fuel flows out, the float drops. Up, down, like this. Well, if you don't have some sort of stopper on the bottom, the fuel simply comes in, it runs back out, up the hole here in the middle, gas leaves the carburetor bowl, the float drops, more fuel comes in, and it keeps going until it runs out of fuel. What's supposed to stop it is this. This is a fuel solenoid. It's an electric activated solenoid, and what happens is when the engine is turned on, it sends a current that runs into this, and this is a giant magnet, and that just pulls this plunger down. Well, over time what will happen is goo and varnish from ethanol and other products added to gasoline will begin to build up on the inside of your bowl if left without fuel stabilizers and things like that. Things like, you know, a bottle of Seafoam, something like this is really nice to stop this from happening, and it'll keep your carburetor clean. Well, over time, as the gas evaporates, this plunger should be going up and down freely. In fact, the off position should be up, so that this on the inside of the bowl, after it goes through the bowl, and you can see it sticks through in the bottom there, it will go directly up against that. And when it does that, it physically plugs the gas from flowing through the carburetor. Now, over time, if this stops working properly, what will happen is that will get stuck in the down position, which allows a gap, like the one you can see right there, to occur. Now, what do you do about that? Well, these cost about $50 a piece to fix. And really, you can take them and you can get a new one pretty easily. But you can also try to take some cleaners, and you can either use like a brake cleaner, or you can use a carb cleaner, and you have to soak it. And what that will do is allow you to release that spring, release the varnishes on the inside that are stopping that from moving properly, and get the plunger to move back and forth more freely. This one's going to take a little bit of work. Sometimes what's better, if you don't know, what you're doing on that, and you're not sure if you've got a good clean one. So in my opinion, most times, it's best if you just simply go down to your local store and buy one of these. If you've got the time and you're willing to take a little bit of risk, you can clean that sucker out, and you've got to work it back and forth until this is just totally free and is sealing well. But if you buy a new one, you know it's working, it's good. One last thing, on this particular type of carburetor, the other issue that you run into a lot is that this isn't like a traditional carburetor. It's got two pieces. There's a large seal that sometimes gets stretched, gets out of whack. If that seal isn't in place on the bottom of this carburetor properly, when you seal it, this won't work properly. And the gas will come down the spout through this hole, but then spill over, and then it bypasses the whole safety system. The second thing you've got to watch is that metal piece right there in the middle will actually pop out just like that. It's got a little rubber seal in it. And if that's not there, then when this plunger does function, it won't seat either. So you want to make sure that when you're messing with this stuff, that you have the metal port that's in place, just like that. When you put it in there, be sure to tap it in just a little bit with something so that it seats well. You want to make sure that it's stuck down in there, the rubber stops the gas from leaking around the edges, and that this is totally seated properly. There's a rubber ring right here that this plug fits into, and everything seals good and tight. If that's the case, you've cleaned it all. You've cleaned this to the point where it actually moves and functions freely. When you turn the power on, that should go down. When you turn the power off, the spring inside, and you can see it slowly kind of moving, just from us messing with it, will push that back up pretty hard so that it will seat on the bottom. Well, you're good to go. Put it on. Monitor it for a while to make sure everything's working, and you should be okay. But that's an explanation of hydraulic lock and how a fuel solenoid on a riding mower will cause your engine to look like it's broken. If you have any other questions, come visit us at Carlsbad Small Engine on Facebook, Carlsbad Small Engine on Facebook, or askthemowerguy.com. Askthemowerguy.com. Thanks a lot.